Gay rights lobby group Equality for All Foundation warns politicians to stop using members of the LGBT community or matters referring to them as a punchline on the campaign trail. This after a campaign meeting on Sunday where the Energy Minister, the MP for West Portland, Daryl Vaz, drew for a popular anti-gay song. So, is there any substance to the complaints by EFAF? And what is really at play as they seek to ask Daryl Vaz to apologize? Were his comments that incendiary? We'll have that discussion today on Lead Story. Welcome to Lead Story on this Monday. Before we get into the substantive matter, the campaign is heightening across the political divide. Both the JLP and PNP on the road on the weekend, with both the opposition leader, Mark Golding, and the Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, leading big meetings in various spots across the island. We have a flavor of what both men had to say to supporters at particular points on the campaign stop. We'll deal with that. Then we'll break and get into the substantive discussion this evening rather.
The Jamaica Labour Party has fixed the national economy. The national economy. Listen to me carefully now. We have reduced debt. We have brought inflation under control. We have put resilience, we have built resilience into the economy. Meaning that if you get a storm, you recover in less than a year. Normally, it takes you all 4 or 5 years to recover. We are running the economy so that we don't have to rely on taxes, more taxes from you. You don't have to worry about taxes. No new taxes. In fact, we are giving back people taxes. It is the first that any government has ever given back taxes under what is called the reverse tax credit. We have reduced unemployment. We have reduced the national debt. We have increased the reserves. And as you have said, my friend, we have cut absolute poverty in half, and we have increased the minimum wage. All of these are incontrovertible, irrefutable, uncontestable facts. And that space, no one can challenge us. And even some have chosen to ignore it. But that's their choice. Hold on. Now, in the next phase of our government, what we are going to focus on now is to create what I am going to call your local economy. In the same way we fix the national economy, we are going to fix your local economy so that you can live, work, do your business, raise your family, and experience your own prosperity right here in your community. That is what we're going to do. That is what is called bringing the prosperity of the economy closer to you. What does that entail? From the dividends, meaning from the proceeds that we get from the big economy, the national economy, we will divide that up fairly across the country.
Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister. So what about the opposition leader, Mark Golding?
Time come for a better Jamaica. Comrades, The member of parliament in Eastern St. Thomas, I don't even want to say nothing about her. She is somebody who deserves to be badly beaten in the next election. Badly. She has no class. I asked Dr. Fenton Ferguson to represent me at the so-called opening of that center. And I chose him because of the fact that he has served so long as a leader of the constituency, winning it 6 times. And somebody who has been a minister of government, was my cabinet colleague, and I thought somebody who had the stature to represent at that occasion. And when I see how she disrespected him, totally out of order, totally uncalled for, unbecoming of somebody who calls herself a member of parliament, an absolute disgrace. Anyway, all she has done is stir up the hornet's nest, and she go and get the sting of her life when election day come. So Comrade Rose, you and I work well together. And then, you know, anytime you ask, I always try and deliver. Because I like to support people who are putting in an effort and who I know are with the people, working with the people and putting in 100% of their capacity in the interest of the people. And Rose Shaw is doing that. So she will continue to have my full support. And comrades, I've heard about the gully. I've heard about the breakaway. I've heard about the community without water. So, enough of them, I hear that now, yeah, to multiply. But when the time comes and we are in government, and Eastern St. Thomas is in the winning column of the People's National Party again, you know, we will have to look out for those who looked out for us. And I will be working hard with Rose to make it happen. Comrades, we are at a time in this country when the people of Jamaica are anxious to see a change. New Jamaica. A government in which the people can have trust and confidence. They are tired of all the scandals under this government. They are tired of situations where the government of Morocco, the Kingdom of Morocco, gifts fertilizer for the farmers of Jamaica who need help after the hurricane, and the cronies of this government take the fertilizer and are selling it to the farmers who are in distress. It's a disgrace. The people of Jamaica are looking on when they see the NWC refusing to attend and share test results for water testing at the KSAMC. And we even hear about Duns River and the minister responsible for water, instead of telling them to cut the nonsense and share the information in the interest of the people. Because you can't sweep things like water quality under the carpet. If there's an issue, it must be addressed transparently so people know what is going on. And the minister didn't adopt that posture. That is the type of governance this government is offering. And what about the drill? What about the medical drill? A drill which on the market costs 1/10 of what the government bought the drill from this company. A company where the majority shareholders are JLP MP. And he claims he's holding the shares in trust, but for who? The thing mix up. It don't smell right. There's something rotten in the state of Jamaica. And I'm calling the Auditor General and the Integrity Commission to look at it and scrutinize it very carefully. Because the people of Jamaica are suffering in the healthcare system. There are so many pieces of equipment that need repair or to be replaced. And if you're buying equipment at very inflated prices, those resources are being misused, misappropriated, when they should be available to fix the things that are needing to be fixed in the hospitals and in the health centers. So many people can't have their elective surgeries done. Operating theater closed. AC not working. Elevator not working. CAT scan not available. Even at the Bustamante Children's Hospital, no CAT scan. May I tell you, time come, comrades. Time come. The people need change. That is why I have committed to putting ethics at the center of governance again. Upstanding government in the interest of the people. Government in which the people can have trust and confidence. We want to start a movement when we form government. We want it to be led by well-thinking Jamaicans. The churches, thank you. The churches, civil society organizations, academia, to try and bring back love into the society, bring back decency, bring back caring, bring back the values and attitudes that Jamaica used to be known for, but now, under this government, where the head of the stream is so rotten, we have lost our way, and we have to restore it.
That's the opposition leader, Mark Golding, speaking to comrades out in St. Thomas. Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister before him, was speaking to Labourites in southeast Clarendon. Back with more lead story after these.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. We never make no record or beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
So, I'm sure you took her to a doctor, and what did he say?
He said that she had a hole in her heart. She's a blue baby.
I thought I would find my papa, but I didn't. I found Uncle Jungly instead.
I will divorce her. It's what you want.
Ganga.
Brought to you by
Hyundai or Hyundai.
Rise with Sunrise. Miss Kitty and Dennis are sitting down for a cyber safety lesson in tech time. Then it's over to Miami in Destination Tuesday. We'll pause for the arts with a little Sunrise Theatre and wrap things up in Sunrise Freshers. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
You think me can come off of the stage and you don't run chichi, man? I'm mad, you're mad. I'm mad, you're mad. Labor rights. Whether them in a Portland, St. Thomas, St. Andrew, Clarendon, anywhere them there. You know what to do. Thank you very much.
So now we have an issue of interpretation now, yeah? What did the West Portland MP mean when he said St. Andrew, Portland, St. Thomas, wherever they are, you know what to do after drawing for TOK's hit, Chichiman, yeah? Today, I have on the show with me the Executive Director of Equality for All Foundation, formerly J-Flag, Glenn Roy Murray. Glenn, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Good. All right, your position and the EFAF's position on this issue, read Daryl Vaz's comments and the song choice. Articulate that position for me.
The position is simple. He should apologize for the use of the song, for being even willing to cue up a song that the very singers of that song have said we won't be using it anymore in our lineup because it has been established that it promotes homophobic violence, violence against the LGBT community in Jamaica and elsewhere. And so that alone in and of itself is a problem. And then when we get to the question of what did he mean at the end, that's a further issue that we can go back and forth about. But the reality is I don't think our politics is at the place anymore where that is acceptable.
What would you say to those who say, listen, Vaz trumped for a song, pun intended, that, that he was sure to energize the crowd. We won't say rile up because we know what rile means. Yeah? To energize the crowd, and it was not necessarily instructions to harm those of a certain bend.
Yeah, but that's a question of intention.
Yes.
And I can accept that in the heat of a political rally, that your intention is to get energy from your base.
Right.
At the end of the day, that should not be done at the expense of me or my community. And that there are other ways, there are other songs that can get people energetic. And we are saying, as the LGBT community in Jamaica, that we're offended, that we're bothered, that we're voters too, and you're alienating us by using that kind of song within that context, and that we matter.
Yeah, and then though, someone would say, if it is that Glenroy Murray is saying that he's offended by what Vaz did and said, it must be then that his disgust and offense is bipartisan, because they'll say to you, January 15 this year, when the comrade leader, Mark Golding, speaking in Central Kingston, in welcoming Steve McGregor to the fold as the PNP caretaker, said, comrades, we have a real man in place, as if to say Lawrence Rowe, the previous incumbent, was not a real man, and then the connotations there. And several instances where both sides have used the same trope to energize their crowd, then it's a case of a neutrality then in the offense caused by actors on the political stage.
Except that, I mean, this doesn't just start in this particular election cycle. Back in 2020, I believe it was when it happened, we were very clear on what our position was, and apologies were extended. Both political parties made it clear that homophobia did not belong on the political stage. I think when we look at the situation that you referred to earlier this year, that one, even though I was personally offended by the comment, I did not want to speak for a person who was very clearly capable of speaking up for themselves and was doing that within the media. And I didn't want to, through the presence of my organization, cast aspersions on their sexuality, of which I cannot speak to. And so in this instance, it's very clear, because of the explicit nature of what he did, that a line has been crossed.
Right, and when you say explicit nature, perhaps it is that one could watch what happened there and said, okay, Vaz trumped for a song that he was sure to energize the crowd, but Vaz in that moment did not give a charge to labor rights to say, go and harm members of the LGBT community explicitly. How would you view that?
I hear you, and I think we're splitting hairs. I think it is enough of an offense that he trumped for the song. Because the truth is, if you have been campaigning, as both parties have been, on both achievements as well as promises, then what is the need? Polling has shown that that is the issue of being LGBT is not what the electorate is concerned with.
Not busying the minds of Jamaicans.
Yeah, they're concerned with crime, they're concerned with the economy, they're concerned with their well-being, as are we. And so it was completely unnecessary and very disappointing. I don't expect this, not from Minister Vaz and not from anybody else at this stage.
And what if he says to you that perhaps, and I've seen this narrative emerge on the social media from since yesterday when the comments emerged, that perhaps it is that, look, I was speaking in the context of bad mind, and to bookmark the point about bad mind and the PNP selectively speaking out on issues and being led by the news media as to what to advocate on, I drew for that song as a part of my routine. And so it wasn't necessarily a charge to go and do harm to LGBT. It was just to crown the point I was making about me being anti-bad mind and calling out the PNP for bad mind. I put that position to you for your response.
I mean, but there's a very clear example of a song that he could have used. There's Bad Mind by Elephant Man. Like, I'm a dancehall aficionado as much as Minister Sister Vaz. There were several other songs in the catalog of dancehall from that time that he could have used. He chose to use a song that is known for its homophobic content. So whatever his intentions were, his actions has done harm to me and my community, and I think that is enough.
Hear you on that. We take a break and come right back. This is Lead Story, speaking with the gentleman leading Equality for All Foundation, formerly J-Flag, Glenroy Murray. He says that he's personally disappointed by what went down Southeast Clarendon with the West Portland MP, Daryl Vaz.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. Me never make no record or beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
Director of Equality for All Foundation, Glenroy Murray, is my guest, speaking out about what happened in Southeast Clarendon on Sunday. He says the choice of song by Daryl Vaz as he led that section of the JLP's meeting was offensive, he believes, to members of his community, and it doesn't sit well with him. And he says, look, that's the kind of thing that will cause members of his community, who are voters like everybody else, to not support the process at the ballot whenever time the general election is announced. I say to you, as I go to a certain destination, Glenroy, which will become apparent in very short order, I would imagine that members of your community themselves would bust a blank when that song is played in a party. I would imagine so. So if that is the case, what's so wrong with Vaz using that, given its broad appeal, notwithstanding what TOK themselves have said, but what would be so wrong with Vaz using that song on a platform where image and forward is everything?
So here's the problem with that. I mean, it goes to the simple lesson that all our parents have taught us, time and place, right? What you do in the dance hall as a performative space stays in the dance hall largely. When you get to a political platform, there's a set of standards that we expect of our political representatives, right? There's several songs in dancehall that are problematic, songs about scamming, songs that promote violence against women, and we don't expect any of our political representatives to cue up those songs to energize their base. And I think that same principle should be applied when we get to songs that are homophobic, regardless of how my community has chosen to reclaim those songs as queer Jamaicans who found an interesting way to survive here.
Yeah. All right. And so, therefore, given your stated position as expressed in your statement earlier, Nicole Wilson sent that to the media very early today, how do you, well, I won't say demand, because I know you'd want to use soft language so that you can get people talking to each other. How would you ask for politicians to govern themselves where this choice of homophobic lyrics are concerned in that space, which I'm going to disagree with you on one thing. I think the performative nature and dancehall and the political campaign, they bear striking similarities. They're almost the same at times. But I get the point that you're making. But what do you demand from our political actors going forward from this point?
So here's the reality. I think slip-ups are going to happen on the political platform. I understand that. However, it's time for the institutions to speak up. It's time for, whether it is the political ombudsman, who we are engaging around this issue, but also the political parties themselves as they did back in 2020, to make a very clear statement on what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And we've seen them do this on different issues, and I think they can do it again. And it's not enough, it's not too much to ask, I think.
I saw a letter today to the political ombudsman from the Deputy General Secretary of the JLP complaining about something the PNP did, Alfred Dawes. And in it were cited several sections of the political code of conduct that they said they were inviting an investigation to see if they were breached. Would you offer a section of that same political code of conduct that conduct like the one you're hitting out against now is in breach of?
Absolutely. We are of the view that it breaches Section 1A of the Code of Conduct and Section 4A that speaks about inciting violence, that speaks about kind of encouraging confrontation of a group of persons, and that fits squarely with the LGBT community.
And lastly, you say that comments like those are troublesome and are disappointing, deflating even to members of your community, almost as if you show the political process, right?
Yeah.
So is it that you are still minded to participate if you get this apology, or you'll exercise your franchise regardless?
So the reality is, as a community, we're working through that. We're working through how we show up in the next general election. And we're going to have to take everything into consideration. I think people think we've been quiet for a very long while. That's because we've been doing the work and preparing ourselves. And it's time that both political parties recognize that you can't continue to treat us as, you know, the ugly stepchild of Jamaica.
Yeah, and I'm happy you said, because we're going to ask if either party is safe of the big two. Well, your argument is none.
None.
But there you go. Thank you this evening, sir.
Thank you, Pat.
Glenroy Murray, he's the executive